Lightness you're describing, Harry, is called being high. I mean, it brings new meaning to your highness. Exactly. I think that this is a dangerous conversation.
New nickname, Your Highness.
Imagine launching a luxury lifestyle brand with royal flair and watching it crash and burn in real time now. Imagine doing it twice. Before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Meghan Markle's second attempt at becoming a lifestyle icon is unraveling faster than a ribbon on one of her overpriced jam jars. And while the internet roasts her for a cringeworthy product rollout, something far more unsettling is happening in the background. Prince Harry is showing signs of slipping into a very dark place. Again, this isn't just another royal misstep, it's the collision of personal unraveling and public humiliation playing out on a global stage. And it all started with a jar of jam. When Meghan Markle launched American Duchess, expectations were sky high. After all, her first lifestyle blog, The Tig, had a cult following, and her connection to the crown gave her a unique advantage. But this time around, nothing clicked, nothing stuck, nothing felt real. The products, Pinterest core, nonsense. Dried flower sprinkle jars with no real use. Fruit spreads that professional chefs politely refuse to call jam. And let's not forget the bizarre faux sellout stuntwear items marked as sold out. The second the store went live gave off more glitch energy than luxury exclusivity. Customers weren't convinced, they were confused. Worse still, even Meghan's most loyal fans were left scratching their heads. There was no cohesion, no story, no soul behind the brand. Just vibes and royalty. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. As Meghan tried to keep her lifestyle fantasy afloat, a quieter storm was brewing, one centered around Prince Harry's well-being. Let's be blunt. Harry hasn't looked right in months. Gone is the cheeky prince with the easy grin and sharp tongue. In his place, a man who looks lost, heavy, and exhausted. And the whispers coming from insiders aren't just whispers anymore, they're sirens. Public appearances are sparse. Speeches feel flat. His eyes, once full of mischief, now dart with unease. Some royal watchers describe him as robotic. Others say he seems sedated. Either way, something is undeniably wrong. And the tension behind the scenes is thicker than ever. Royal insiders have started using a word they once avoided at all. Costs. Relapse. Now, let's be clear. There's no confirmed report, no medical disclosure, but the signs are impossible to ignore, especially if you know Harry's history. He's been open about self-medicating, turning to alcohol, weed, and even psychedelics in his younger years to numb grief and anxiety. He said it himself. He didn't want to feel anything, so he escaped. He wanted to block out the pain of losing his mother, the suffocating pressure of royal life, and the brutal glare of the media. So what happens when those same triggers come roaring back? When your family is fractured, your public image is in tatters, and your wife's high-stakes brand flops right out of the gate? That's the question people are quietly asking, and some are no longer being quiet. A recent appearance at a London event reignited the rumors. Just a single photo, but it told 1,000 stories. Harry, glassy-eyed, off-kilter, looking more like a man trying to keep it together than a prince on a mission. The press didn't say it outright, but commentators didn't hold back. One called it alarming. Another said it looked like he'd just come from a pharmacy, not a palace. And while Harry stumbles in the spotlight, Meghan keeps pushing. Product like nothing's wrong. This isn't just about bad jam. It's about optics. And the optics are brutal, because while Meghan smiled for promo photos and crafted, pastel-filtered Instagram posts full of cheers, deers, and botanical nonsense, Harry seemed to disappear. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. There's even been talk that King Charles is quietly panicking. Not because of the brand or the headlines, but because he sees his son slipping away again. And this time, he doesn't know how to help. Charles, for all the royal rules and rigidity, is still a father. A father who's watched his son go from battle-hardened veteran to confused celebrity spokesman to what? A shell of himself? A man trapped in California shadows? Sources close to the family say Charles is torn. He wants to help, but he also knows Harry has to want help, that he has to meet him halfway. And after years of indulging Harry's decisions, the king might be drawing a line. Not out of spite, but out of emotional fatigue. You created this storm. One insider claims Charles said in private, "You figure out how to survive it." And if that sounds cold, maybe it is. But it also reflects the desperation behind palace walls. The monarchy doesn't have room for dead weight, not when its future is hanging by a thread. While Buckingham Palace keeps its lips sealed, the public narrative is spiraling out of control. You can only sell fairy tales for so long before people start noticing the cracks in the castle walls. and Meghan's American Duchess brand. It's not just cracked, it's crumbling. Fast. Let's talk about the actual launch. Meghan released a new drop of fruit spreads, honey, and sprinkle jars. It was supposed to be whimsical, aspirational, elevated. But viewers watching the promotional videos noticed something off. Meghan didn't look confident. Her posture was rigid, her smile forced, her eyes flicked nervously off camera. Gone was the polished actress turned royal. In her place was someone desperately pretending everything was fine. The energy was off, and people noticed. And then came the reviews, unfiltered and impossible to spin. Jam experts, yes, that's a thing called her product's amateur. Donna Collins, an award-winning preserve maker, didn't mince words. She described Meghan's fruit spread as what happens when jam fails. Ouch. But Meghan didn't slow down. She doubled down. She claimed everything sold out instantly, flooding her social media with messages of gratitude and exclusivity. But customers began asking questions. People refreshing the store at launch time found everything sold out before they could click anything. It wasn't a natural sellout. It was artificial scarcity, designed to create buzz. It backfired. Even loyal fans began expressing doubt. Some said they felt misled. Others mocked the effort entirely. Because if your brand's biggest asset is a countdown timer and pastel filter, you don't have a brand. You have a mirage. And while Meghan scrambled to salvage the optics, Harry remained silent. To silent, his absence only added fuel to the speculation. Was he supporting Meghan from the shadows, or was he struggling with demons of his own? The few times he was seen, it didn't help. His eyes looked vacant, his body language, tense. Reports of cancelled appearances, missed engagements, and a growing gap between him and his usual causes started piling up. What started as a failed product launch was beginning to look like something much darker. Full-scale unraveling of the Sussex brand, and no one seemed to be steering the ship, even Hollywood. Once Meghan and Harry's biggest cheerleader has gone quiet, Alistairs aren't reposting her products. Former allies aren't commenting. Big names that once welcomed them into the California elite now seem curiously absent from the conversation. That silence. It's deafening, because in this world, silence is rarely neutral. It's strategic. It's distancing. It's a signal that even the insiders are bracing for the fallout. Asterisk. And the cracks don't stop at marketing or public image. They run deep into the heart of the family dynamics that Harry and Meghan have tried to navigate, or rather, escape. Take Princess Eugenie, for example. She was once seen as the only royal, still close to the Sussexes, a bridge between two worlds. But even that seems to be shifting. Eugenie was recently spotted at Royal Ascot, arm in arm, with Misha Nenu, one of Meghan's closest friends. To the casual observer, it looked innocent. But royal watchers saw something else. A subtle signal. Was Eugenie still tied to Meghan? Was she keeping tabs, acting as a go-between? Or was she just playing both sides in a family feud that has no easy exit? It's hard to say, but in a family known for coded gestures and silent messages, even a photograph can be a declaration of allegiance or betrayal. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Meghan's empire looks more like a house of cards than a lifestyle empire. Sources estimate that despite the carefully orchestrated sold-out narrative, the total inventory moved was shockingly low. The actual profits, marginal at best. A few $1,000s, according to one retail insider. That's not a business. That's a hobby, masquerading as a movement. But the illusion of grandeur persists. Filtered photos, carefully worded captions, endless reinventions of the same aesthetic with no substance behind it. It's all an attempt to delay the inevitable realization. The brand has no foundation, and people are starting to wake up. Even her fan base. Once fierce Sussex squad is growing quiet, their social media defenses have turned into awkward silence. No viral hashtags, no coordinated support. Just the occasional echo of enthusiasm that feels more forced than real. And all of this is happening as Harry's image continues to erode. One royal aide reportedly said Harry looks like a man without a mission. The Invictus Games, once his shining achievement, barely makes headlines anymore. His podcast deal's quiet. His interviews repetitive. His book? Old news. He's become a man stuck in limbo. Too far from the crown to be royal, too famous to be anonymous, and far too unsettled to build something new. Insiders close to King Charles say the monarch is watching all of this with a heavy heart. Not because it's bad PR for the firm, but because it's personal. This is his son, and what he sees is a man collapsing under the weight of choices. He can't seem to undo. The king's private stance is reportedly firm. No more financial bailouts. No more public cover-ups. Harry chose this path now. He has to walk it. And Meghan, she's walking it too, but with far less grace than she expected. Because in the end, no amount of royal titles, flower jars, or curated product drops can cover the fact that the empire they built was made of smoke and mirrors. Asterisk, but here's the thing about smoke and mirrors, they eventually fade, and what's left behind is the raw truth. For Meghan, that truth is harsh. Her attempt to pivot from royal rebel to entrepreneurial icon has failed twice. First with the Teague's demise, and now with American Duchess, which has been publicly mocked more than it's been praised. Even branding experts are weighing in, calling the entire launch confused, tone-deaf, and lacking identity. And let's talk about identity for a moment, because Meghan's biggest challenge might not be the failing business might be the fact that she doesn't seem to know who she is anymore. Is she a duchess or a disruptor, an eco-inf, or a jam jar peddler, a women's rights advocate, or a brand ambassador? Right now, she's none of those things. Just a name, a face, a fading Instagram aesthetic. And Harry, he's not faring any better. The emotional distance between them is becoming more and more obvious. At events, they barely make eye contact. In recent appearances, Meghan seemed poised and performative while Harry looked like he was somewhere else entirely. And maybe he was. Maybe the pressure has pushed him into a mental state where survival is the only priority. This isn't speculation for clicks. This is concern coming from people who once defended them. Even those who applauded their decision to leave the royal family are now asking, was it worth it? Because what started as a love story of liberation is beginning to feel like a cautionary tale about fame, about image, about losing touch with who you are when everything becomes performance, and as the media turns skeptical, the narrative is no longer about racism, press persecution, or royal betrayal. It's about two people who seem to have no plan, no compass, and no team strong enough to hold the weight of their ambition. That shift in tone is devastating, and it's only accelerating. Behind the scenes, PR firms that once lined up to work with the Sussexes are quietly walking away. Netflix is reportedly frustrated with lackluster performance and inconsistent content. Spotify, that bridge is already burned. And Hollywood, the ultimate barometer of status, is growing cold. You don't need insider tips to read between the lines, you just need to look at who's not showing up for them anymore. When Meghan launched her brand, there were no celebrity endorsements, no stylized unboxing videos from her famous friends, just silence. And in this industry, silence is betrayal. Asterisk, even their most calculated moves are starting to feel like desperate swings in the dark. Remember when Harry and Meghan once dominated headlines for their boldness? Their Oprah interview shook the world. Their Spotify deal was headline gold. But now, the magic is gone, replaced by awkward product launches, awkward interviews, and even more awkward silences. And then there's the money. Whispers from palace sources suggest that Harry may still be receiving quiet financial support from King Charles, despite their infamous claim that they were cut off. If true, it raises serious questions. Is Harry still dependent on the very institution he denounced? Is Charles quietly trying to keep him afloat while letting the public believe the break was clean? It's a PR nightmare because if Harry can't sustain himself without royal backup, what does that say about the brand he and Meghan built? It suggests that independence was a facade, that behind all the Netflix specials and podcast platitudes, there was no real strategy, no structure. Just ambition dressed in designer clothes, and Meghan, her image as a feminist disruptor, is cracking under the weight of contradictions. She built her platform on empowerment, but her brand choices scream exclusivity. She spoke about transparency, but her product launches are riddled with misdirection. She once claimed she wanted to break free from the royal cage but continues to monetize her title at every turn. At some point, people start asking, what do you really stand for? Because American Duchess isn't just a name, it's a symbol of a woman trying to be everything and ending up being ... nothing concrete, just noise. And as all this plays out publicly, Harry seems to be slowly fading behind the scenes, not just out of the media spotlight, but out of himself. His emotional withdrawal has been noted by multiple insiders, aides, friends, even former supporters. They say he rarely smiles, that he barely engages unless cameras are on. That's something. Inside him looks broken. This isn't the man who once danced with kids in Lesotho, or challenged stigma at the Invictus Games. This is someone else, a ghost of that vibrant prince, and Meghan, for all her media savvy, hasn't been able to reverse the damage. Or perhaps she hasn't tried. Maybe she's too busy trying to salvage a crumbling brand. Or maybe she's just too deep in her own world to notice that the man beside her is drowning. What we're seeing now isn't just a failed business venture. It's a breakdown in real time of a brand, of a relationship, of an identity. And the most tragic part, they may be the last to see it. Asterisk. So where does this leave them? In a word adrift, Meghan's second shot at lifestyle stardom is imploding, and the illusion of exclusivity can no longer mask the truth. There's no product, no strategy, no soul behind American Duchess. Just a curated mess held together by pastel filters and a dwindling pool of borrowed credibility. And Harry, once the most beloved rebel in the royal family, is slowly becoming a cautionary tale, not just of fame or pressure or grief, but of what happens when you cut ties with your past without truly healing from it. Together, they were supposed to be the power couple that changed the monarchy forever. The ones who broke free, spoke their truth, and built a new empire. But now, that dream has morphed into a public slow motion, collapse complete with overpriced jam, hushed concerns, and headlines they can't control. This isn't the story they wanted the world to hear, but it's the one being written in real time by their actions, their silences, and the growing unease from those who used to champion their cause. If there's going to be a comeback, it won't be built on faux scarcity tactics or borrowed prestige. It'll have to come from something they've long avoided. Vulnerability, honesty, a real reckoning with who they are and what they stand for beyond the titles, the brands, and the curated content. Because time is running out, the public is growing colder. Hollywood is turning away, and even behind the gates of Montecito, the cracks are becoming impossible to ignore. Whether they realize it or not, the question isn't, can they fix this? It's, do they even know how? And if you want to stay updated as this story unfolds, believe us, there's more coming. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're watching it all closely, connecting the dots and bringing you the truth behind the headlines. Because this isn't just drama, it's a modern tragedy playing out in designer clothing, and it's far from over.